Do you ever feel like you're capable of so much more than what you're currently doing? But at the same time, you also feel fundamentally not good enough. Like part of you genuinely knows you have abilities, insights, something valuable to offer. You can see it clearly. But another part of you feels the complete opposite, inadequate, unworthy, like you can't trust those abilities, even though you know that they're there. And sometimes, and this is the uncomfortable part, this shows up as feeling different from other people. Not better, not arrogant, but separate. Like you see things they don't, understand things more deeply, operate on a different wavelength. But then in the next breath, you doubt everything about yourself. You feel like you're failing, like you're not good enough, despite all of that. So you're stuck in this bizarre contradiction, feeling both superior and inadequate, both capable and incapable, both confident in what you can do and completely lacking confidence in yourself. And if you're really honest, you probably have a story about what this means. Maybe you think you're arrogant, full of yourself, egotistical. So then you feel guilty. Who do I think I am to think that way? Maybe you've labeled it as imposter syndrome, like you're somehow fooling other people into thinking you're capable when secretly you're not. But what if neither of those stories are true? What if the paradox is telling you something completely different? See, here's what's actually happening. If you look closer at what you're feeling superior about, what's creating that sense of I'm meant for more, it's not really about other people at all. You're not comparing yourself to other people. You're comparing yourself to who you think you should be. You feel you should be further along in life than you are, like you're wasting your potential, like there's a version of you that's capable of so much more, and you're just not being that person. You feel like your current life is beneath what you're capable of, like you're living small when you know that you could be living bigger. You look at your life, your job, your relationships, what you've actually accomplished, and there's this constant sense of, I should be further along than this by now. Like you're behind some invisible timeline of where you're supposed to be. And other people your age seem settled, content, like they're where they're meant to be, and you're just not. So the superiority that you've been judging yourself for, it's not actually about being better than others. It's about feeling better than the life you're currently living. And that gap between who you are and who you think you should be, that's what's creating both sides of the paradox. The superiority, I'm capable of more than this, and the inadequacy, but I can't get there, something's wrong with me. And here's the question that matters. Why can you see your potential so clearly, but can't seem to step into it? To understand that, we have to go back to how this pattern formed. You likely have overdeveloped self-awareness without self-acceptance. You can see yourself clearly, your gifts, your capabilities. You're highly perceptive, not just about others, but yourself. You know your potential. You can visualize the version of yourself that's living it, but you were never taught to accept yourself. You learned to see yourself clearly so that you could monitor whether you were being good enough, so that you could adjust, improve, become better. But acceptance, that was never part of it. And that came from somewhere early on in life. Maybe from a parent, maybe from your environment, maybe from a series of experiences where you learned that your worth was conditional, that you were valuable when you achieved, when you excelled, when you lived up to your potential. Maybe love felt more available when you performed well. Maybe approval came with accomplishments but disappeared with mistakes. Maybe you watched someone else get praised for being exceptional while ordinariness was met with disappointment or indifference. Or maybe it wasn't about approval at all. Maybe you had a series of experiences that left you feeling unseen, unimportant, like you didn't quite matter in the way you needed to. Not necessarily neglected, not unloved, but just overlooked. Maybe your needs were secondary. Maybe your feelings weren't important enough to attend to. Maybe you were just there, present, but not particularly noticed. And when you're a child experiencing that, you can't change your circumstances. You can't make people see you. You can't force yourself to matter. So you made yourself a promise. One day, I'll be so exceptional that no one can ever overlook me. I'll achieve something so significant that my importance will be undeniable. Being extraordinary became your plan for fixing the wound of feeling ordinary, of feeling forgettable, of feeling like you didn't quite matter enough. And now, years later, you're still living inside of that because you've learned I'm only enough when I'm exceptional. Not consciously, not as a sentence you even repeat, but as a felt sense in your body, a belief your nervous system absorbed about what makes you worthy of love, attention, belonging. And once that belief took root, you started constructing your entire identity around it. Being exceptional became your strategy for mattering. So you developed this incredibly sharp ability to see your own potential because you needed to know what exceptional looked like so that you could become it. But you never developed the ability to accept yourself as you are because as you are was never the version that felt visible or important. And now, years later, you're still living inside that conditioning. You can see who you could be with painful clarity, but you can't accept where you actually are. You can't accept being imperfect, inconsistent, human. And that's what keeps the gap open. The gap you feel between who you are and who you think you should be isn't just about achievement. It's about finally mattering, about becoming someone who can't be ignored or dismissed or treated as unimportant. And that's why the gap feels so urgent. It's about proving you were worth seeing all along. Because underneath all of this, underneath the clear vision of who you could be, there's a wound that says, I'm not enough. Not I feel inadequate sometimes, but a core belief about who you are. And this belief makes stepping towards your potential feel dangerous. Because what if you try and fail? What if you go for the bigger thing and it proves you were never actually capable of it? So you stay in the gap, not because you lack vision or ambition, but because the gap feels safer than risking confirmation of the wound. If you stay in the space between who you are and who you could be, if you don't fully try, you get to keep that potential intact. You get to keep believing, I could do it if I really wanted to. I just haven't yet. But if you actually go for it, if you step into that bigger version of yourself and you fall short, then there's the fear that the not good enough wound might be confirmed. So you protect yourself by staying stuck in the paradox because you develop ways of protecting yourself to stay in there. Maybe you self-handicap. You don't fully commit. You wait until the last minute. You leave yourself an out because if you fail, you need to be able to say, well, I didn't really try, so this doesn't really count. If you fully tried and still failed, that would confirm the wound. That would prove that you're not actually as capable as you thought. So you protect the ideal by never fully risking it. But you also never find out what you're actually capable of. Or you become the perfectionist. If I can't do it perfectly, I won't do it at all. Because if you're messy or imperfect, that's evidence of the gap. And showing the gap feels like proof that you're not good enough. So you wait to be already the ideal version before you can start. But you can't become the ideal without going through the messy process of trying. Or you stay stuck planning, researching, preparing. It feels productive. It feels like you're working towards it, but you're not actually doing it because doing it would require showing up as you actually are, imperfect, uncertain, and that's not the ideal. So you stay in the thinking phase where you can imagine being the ideal without having to risk not being them yet. And all of these mechanisms serve the same purpose, protecting you from finding out whether you're actually capable of becoming who you think you can be. But they are also keeping you trapped because the gap can't close if you never actually take real consistent action towards the ideal. And this is why all that generic usual advice doesn't help, right? Just believe in yourself. Well, the problem isn't that you don't believe in yourself. You do. You can clearly see your ideal version. You believe it's possible. The problem is that you don't believe you're worthy of it as you are right now. You don't believe you deserve to have what you want. You don't believe you're good enough to actually reach it. So believe in yourself misses the point entirely. You believe in your potential. You just don't believe that you can do it. Or lower your standards. This feels like giving up, like settling for less than what you're capable of, like betraying the version of yourself you know you could be. And it doesn't address the actual wound that your worth feels conditional on being exceptional, on living up to your potential. So lowering your standards doesn't fix the belief that being ordinary makes you not good enough. It actually just makes you feel like you're accepting defeat. Or even just like practice self-compassion. It sounds right, but when you genuinely believe you're wasting your potential, when you can see who you could be and that you're not being that person, compassion can actually feel like making excuses. It feels like letting yourself off the hook for living small when you know that you should be doing more. Self-compassion doesn't work when the problem isn't being too hard on yourself. The problem is believing that your worth depends on closing the gap. Or even when people say, just take action, stop overthinking. Well, this oversimplifies the paralysis. Doesn't account for the fact that taking action towards the ideal activates the not good enough wound, that moving towards what you want means risking confirmation that you can't have it, that you don't deserve it, that you're not capable of getting it. And telling someone to just do it when their nervous system is screaming, "This is so dangerous," doesn't help. It just makes them feel even more broken for not being able to do what seems so simple, right? None of these solutions work because they don't address the core issue. Your worth was made conditional and you're still living inside that conditioning. You still believe that you're only valuable when you're exceptional, when you're living up to your potential, when you're being the ideal version of yourself. And until that belief shifts, the gap will stay open. No matter how much you believe in yourself, lower your standards, practice compassion, or force yourself to take action. So here's something you can do right now that will show you exactly where your worth has become conditional. I want you to write down your ideal self. Everything you think you should be already doing or being. I should have achieved more by now. I should be more financially stable. I should have my life figured out by now. And then next to each one, I want you to ask yourself honestly, if this never happens, would I still have value as a person? And notice what happens. Notice when your nervous system screams no, where you genuinely believe that if you never achieve that thing, you'll be worthless. But here's what that no is telling you. It's not telling you the truth about your worth. It's telling you what you learned about your worth and how your nervous system is still operating from that belief. So then I want you to question that. Where did I learn this? Who taught you that achieving more determines your worth? That being financially stable makes you more deserving of love? That having your life figured out is what makes you valuable? Because you weren't born believing that. You learned it, which means it's not the truth. It's conditioning. So then what do you do with that? You start separating the desire from the worth. You can want more. You can want to achieve more. You can want financial stability. You can want to have your life figured out. Those are valid desires. They don't make you wrong or broken or ungrateful, but your worth can't be tied to them. Because if your worth depends on achieving something, the gap will never close. You'll achieve one thing and immediately the bar moves. Okay, but now I should have achieved more. Now I should be even further along. The ideal keeps shifting just out of reach so that you never get to feel enough. You're always chasing the next version of worthy, always falling short of the new standard. Conditional worth will always be a moving target, so you have to practice holding both at once. I want to achieve more, but I'm already enough without it. I want financial stability, but my value doesn't depend on getting there. I want my life figured out, but I'm allowed to be uncertain and still worthy. And when you start doing that, you stop walking into every day feeling like you have something to prove, like your existence is an audition for worthiness. You can take action without needing it to be perfect, without needing the outcome to validate you. You can try, fail, try again, and none of it means anything about your fundamental worth. The paradox resolves when you stop tying your worth to the ideal, when you can pursue your potential without needing it to validate you. You're not living in that painful misalignment anymore. So the sense of separation dissolves, the frustrated distance from others, the feeling of being different or above or apart, because you're not at war with where you are anymore. And the inadequacy fades too, because you're not measuring yourself against an impossible standard that was never meant to be reached. You can see your capabilities without the gap, feeling like you're proof that you're failing. You can want more without it meaning you're not enough right now. The not enough wound doesn't disappear overnight, but it stops running your life because your worth isn't on the other side of the gap anymore, waiting for you to finally achieve it. It's here, right now, in the mess, in the imperfect, inconsistent, still figuring it out version of you. The desires are still there. The ambition is still there. You still want the bigger life, the achievement, the realized potential, but it's not desperate anymore. It's not, I need this to finally be okay. It's just, I want this and I'm allowed to have it. And whether I get it or not doesn't change the fact that I'm already enough. So yes, one more, dream big, pursue your potential. Just don't make your worth conditional on getting there.